بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين لا سيما بقية الله في الأرضين جل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف اللهم أخرجني من ظلمات الوهم وأكرمني بنور الفهم اللهم افتح علينا أبواب رحمتك وانشر علينا خزائن علومك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. So, as you remember, we finished chapter 10, which was about traveling, and now inshallah we want to start chapter 11 on sleeping and awakeness. But please don't go to sleep and be awake. Sometimes we think maybe sleeping is not that important because what is important is the time we are awake. Yeah? Sleeping is a necessity of life. We don't need to that much worry about it. But in Islam, everything which occupies part of your time and life is important. You are ill or healthy. Both are important. You are sleepy or you are awake or you are sleeping. All are important. Even when we go to washroom, again it's important. Anything that takes part of your time, it's important. And there is a way to do it better, to make it more meaningful, more useful. And we have to regulate it. We cannot leave it, to chance. So, we have many instructions and recommendations and manners and etiquettes, whatever you want to call it, about the time you are sleeping, or before you sleep, or after you just wake up, and then when you are awake. Some of these are maybe mustahab, some of them maybe rational recommendations, but anyway, they are good to observe. One of the things that you find in many hadith is about sleeping on your right side. Because you can sleep on your stomach, on your belly. This is not good. Sleeping on the left side is also not recommended. Some hadiths say that sleeping on either on the back, and this is the way that the prophets, according to some hadiths, used to sleep when they were sleeping. Their physical eyes maybe were closed, but the eyes of the heart were open, and they were sometimes receiving revelation when they were sleeping. There is a hadith attributed also to Rasulullah. It said, تَنَامُ عَيْنَاي وَلَا يَنَامُ قَلْبِي. My physical eyes may sleep, but my heart doesn't sleep. Because if he sleeps, then he becomes heedless, and he may then do something wrong, or say something wrong. Even if they are sleeping, they are alert. So, prophets have their own way of sleeping, but we are recommended to sleep on the right side, facing Qibla. There is a hadith that Rasulullah said, this is narrated by Sheikh Saduq, rahmatullah alayhi, in Man la yahduruhu al-faqih. And Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli quotes from Man la yahduruhu al-faqih. It's one of our major collections of hadith, one of Kutub Arba'in. Ya Ali, an-nawmu arba'ah. Oh Ali, there are 4 types of sleeping. نوم الأنبياء على أقفيتهم. Prophets slept on their back. Qafam is back. So, facing the sky. وَنَوْمُ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ عَلَىٰ أَيْمَانِهِمْ. Believers asleep on the right side. وَنَوْمُ الْكُفَّارِ وَالْمُنَافِقِينَ عَلَىٰ أَيْسَارِهِمْ. Those who have no faith and are actually against faith, because kafir is not just atheist. I have said this many times. Kafir is someone who is against faith. They sleep on their left. وَنَوْمُ الشَّيَاطِينَ عَلَى وُجُوهِهِمْ. Human Satans, they sleep on their face. It's not haram. It's not that, from a fiqh point of view, this is haram. But this shows that it has a big connection with the condition of your soul. I have mentioned this in some lectures about hayat, about life. I have mentioned this in some lectures about soul. I have mentioned this. That when we sleep, our soul partially departs the body. Partially. Not completely. الله يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها والتي لم تمت في منامها. Allah receives our souls when we die. But even if you have not died, في منامها, when you are sleeping. So your soul reduces its belonging to the body. And this is why the soul can have some rest. And it is recommended that when you sleep in a very comfortable condition. For example, if you need to go to washroom before sleep, go to washroom. Because this keeps your soul concerned. Or if you have eaten too much, or if you are too hungry, it doesn't let the soul to be really at peace, at rest. So, the soul is taken when we sleep. فَيُمْسِكُ الَّتِي قَضَى عَلَيْهَا الْمَوْتِ. Then if someone is supposed to die when he or she is sleeping, the soul would not be released. وَيُرْسِلُ الْأُخْرَى إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى. But those who are not supposed to die, Allah would release the soul. The soul goes back to the normal condition. إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُسَمًّى. Till the fixed deadline comes. So, whenever we sleep, it's like a small experience of death. And therefore, whenever you wake up, you should thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for being given another opportunity to come back. Because we have slept many times before we understand these things, now we are not worried. But if you are going to sleep after, for example, 20, 30 years for the first time, you would never take risks. You say, no, I don't want to sleep. Because who said that I can come back again and have my, mind, everything again in a good condition? Anyway, the soul is not stopping completely his or her functions when you sleep. Reduces physical, bodily management. But it gives the soul chance to rest from dunya and maybe rise to higher levels of existence. Maybe you can have good dreams. Maybe you can have good connections. Sometimes when you sleep, you may understand things that when you were awake, you were not able to understand. Sometimes you are going to fight someone when you sleep and you wake up, you say, no, why I should fight? because the soul has had some chance to distance herself from all these details and reflect. You think you are sleeping, but many things when you are sleeping are being processed and analyzed. I remember one incident, because we are like a family, so I can mention. And the people who are online also are my family. So, many, many years ago when I was in Manchester, it's 90s, my father came to visit us, so it's the only time he came here to visit us. And at that time we had some students that their ideas were not right. And some of them also had also background. They had misunderstandings. And I said to my father, some of these people that I know, they are good people. But there are very difficult issues today in the world about how should respond to the modernity. And they want to go back to Islam and find answers. And many times they may not get the answer because they are not that qualified, and this is not easy. So they start maybe with sincerity, but they end up with having confused ideas. So this was what I said my father. So he said, what do you do? So that you don't end up with this. I said, I sleep. so it remained in my mind. So sometimes when there are difficult situations, you don't need to make a quick decision. Just relax. Take your time. Maybe there are issues that I have in my mind 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, till it becomes clear for me. As long as I have not taken any side, it's okay. But if I tell you something, then I'm mas'ool, I'm responsible for that. So I don't want to say people have bad intention, but I want to say sometimes they are overwhelmed and then they cannot find the right answer. Okay. So soul is very active, possibly when we sleep. Therefore, it's very important how do you start this process. When you sleep, you don't have that much control. Even if you sleep on the right side, maybe when you sleep, then you just turn. But at least before you go to sleep, make a wuzu, face qibla, say some zikr. At least this much you can. Then inshallah, little by little, you can keep this also when you are sleeping. Your alertness, your attention, your sincerity. But it's very important how you start this process of sleeping. Okay. Sorry, I have to put the wire. So, this is the possibility of sleeping on the right side if possible, or the Prophet's on the back. There is a hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. Kana Rasulullah yastaku idha arada an yanam. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, before going to bed, was brushing his tooth ويأخذ مضجعه وكان إذا أوى إلى فراشه استجع على شقه الأيمن ووضع يده اليمنى تحت خده الأيمن. In Makarim al-Akhlaq, Tabarsi says that Rasulullah used to brush his tooth, and when he was going to the bed, he was sleeping on the right side, although the prophets sleep on the back, but Rasulullah sometimes also used to sleep on the right side to make it a sunnah perhaps for people, because people by looking at him were taking lessons. And he used to put his hand, also right hand, under his cheek to sleep. When people are sleeping, they become very innocent. Looking at them is very nice. Sometimes I say, when we are asleep, hopefully Allah looks at us like a father or mother look at the children. And inshallah, He will kiss us when we go to bed. Imam Raza alayhi salam said, إن النوم سلطان الدماغ وهو قوام الجسد وقوته. Sleeping is power for the brain, is the strength for body. Food is important, but sleeping is also very important for your health. You should have good sleep. It's not necessarily a matter of duration. You should have enough sleep. But sometimes having too long is actually not good. It doesn't serve the purpose. It actually is making your body weaker and your mind and brain, weaker. The right amount is very important. Place of sleeping is also very good and important. For example, there is a hadith that Rasulullah said, we should not sleep on the roof which is not protected. In the past they used to go on the roof. Sometimes there was no wall, no partitioning around. So people could go and then fall. Sometimes people Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Inshallah, next week there will be a technician, inshallah, to have properly saluted. Sometimes people also walk when they're sleeping. And then there's a danger that they may just drop. So hadith says, نهى أن ينام الرجل على سطح ليس بمحجور عليه. Rasulullah prohibited to sleep on a roof or on a place that it's not well protected. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, وَلَا تَلَامَنَّ عَلَى دَابَّتِكَ. When someone is riding and traveling, it's not good to sleep while you are riding. Or maybe someone says, it's more comfortable, or I don't know, on the floor, on the ground, maybe there are some insects. But Imam says this is not good for the animal. And, you have to be careful about the health of the animal and can, affect the skin of the animal. So if you want to sleep on a place, not on a bed or on a floor, not on the animal. And this is not the action of the wise people. Another thing is that as much as possible, don't sleep alone. Especially people who are old or they have some issue with the health. It's recommended as much as possible not to sleep alone. So sometimes we don't have any option, but if there is option, if there is possibility to, like traveling, we said not to travel alone if possible, also not to sleep alone. About the time of sleeping. According to the hadith, to sleep before sunrise rises is not good. After, for example, Fajr, it's better not to sleep till sun rises because that's the time which is heavenly, which is full of barakah. Or, for example, between Maghrib and Isha prayer, it's not good to sleep. Beginning of the day is also not good to sleep. Partly because of maybe health, partly because people become lazy. Islam says, you have to start your day early and go for rest, for work, for study, for productivity. I just mentioned one hadith. Amir al-Mu'min alayhi salam said, "An-nawmu bayna al-isha'ayn yurathu al-faqr." To sleep between Maghrib and Isha would lead to poverty. We, of course, most of the time say Maghrib and Isha quickly together, but if you were supposed to do Isha in its own time, there is a gap. It's not good to sleep in that gap. وَالنَّوْمُ قَبْلَ طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ يُورِثُ الْفَقْرَ. And to sleep before sun rises also is leading to poverty. Another thing is that we should not sleep too much. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, ثَلَاثَةٌ يُحِبُّهَا اللَّهُ. There are three things that Allah loves. One is قِلَّةُ الْكَلَامِ, to speak little. If you see someone speaks very little, then this is good. The ability to speak less is very good. And this means that this person has chance to reflect, to think, to study what he wants to say. وَقِلَّةُ الْمَنَامِ وَقِلَّةُ الطَّعَامِ. Sleep also little and eat also little. How much we cannot fix. I cannot say 4 hours, 5 hours, 3 hours, 6 hours, because depending on your age, depending on your lifestyle, depending on your body, depending on your habits, have you trained your body or not, it can be very different. But what is important is give your body what it needs, not more. Just give it what it needs, and if you want to reduce it gradually. For example, if you sleep 10 hours, don't make it from tomorrow 5 hours. This can create problem because أَعْتَ كُلَّ بَدَنٍ مَا عَوَّدْتَهُ. You should give your body what your body is used to. But little by little you can train your body. From a hadith in Irshad al-Qulub, we find this from Amir al-Mu'minin, that Amir al-Mu'minin says one of the groups of people that we can consider as Ahl al-Dunya, the people of Dunya, are those that their sleeping is taking long hours. Kathura nawmuhu. Means you are wasting your time and life. The next title here is If you asleep and you have a bad dream, what should you do? You see a tragic incident in your dream. You see someone has died, What should you do? Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, إِذَا رَأَى الرَّجُلُ مَا يَكْرَهُ فِي مَنَامِهِ. If someone in his or her dream sees something that he or she doesn't like, فَلْيَتَحَوَّلْ عَنْ شِقِّهِ الَّذِي كَانَ عَلَيْهِ نَائِمًا. Turn from one side to the other side. وَلْيَقُلْ. And then recite this ayah. This ayah is إِنَّمَا النَّجْوَى مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ لِيَحْزُنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَيْسَ بِضَارِّهِمْ شَيْئًا إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Whispering is from shaitan. Why? To make believers sad. So, although the ayah was about whispering of people, but the concept is that sometimes shaitan may bring some bad dreams, bad thoughts to your mind to make you suffer. وَلَيْسَ بِضَارِّهِمْ شَيْئًا إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. Shaitan cannot harm believers unless Allah permits. So, say this ayah as a sign of asking refuge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then say this. Of course, you don't need to say it in Arabic if you don't know it, but basically the concept is important, because I don't think it means that you have to go and, find, for example, this and read it in Arabic or the transliteration. If you can, it's good, but I think the concept is important, that in that condition, ask Allah for refuge. أُذْتُ بِمَا عَاذَتْ بِهِ مَلَائِكَةُ اللَّهِ الْمُقَرَّبُونَ وَأَنْبِيَاؤُهُ الْمُرْسَلُونَ وَعِبَادُهُ الصَّالِحُونَ مِنْ شَرِّ مَا رَأَيْتَ وَمِنْ شَرِّ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for refuge in the same way that angels who are muqarrab ask Allah for refuge. The prophets ask for refuge. Righteous servants of Allah ask for refuge from the bad that I had seen in my dream and from the bad coming from shaitan. So you ask Allah for refuge. So whenever you wake up in the middle of a bad dream, remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask from Allah to give you refuge from this. So, these are the things that Ayatollah Jawadi mentioned about sleeping. But we said sleeping and awakeness. So now, what should we do when we are awake? Of course, there are many things that we have to do when we are awake, but we are not talking about those particular deeds because we discussed them in their own place, like studying, traveling, eating. But in a general condition, what should be our condition when we are awake? If you want to summarize it, to be mindful first, but mindful of Allah second. So first, be mindful means don't be heedless. Second, concentrate on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bring your mindfulness to remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, you may end up with missing lots of opportunities, missing lots of good action, good contacts, good work. This beautiful hadith that you must have heard, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, إِنَّ لِرَبِّكُمْ فِي أَيَّامِ دَهْرِكُمْ نَفَحَاتٌ أَلَا فَتَعَرَّضُوا لَهَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has some winds and breathe of mercy, of guidance, of opportunities that they come during your life. It's not that always you have opportunities. Sometimes some opportunities come like wind that brings fresh air. Expose yourself to these opportunities and grab them. Otherwise, they pass and you have not appreciated, and then you regret later. But there is no way to bring them back. If you grab opportunities, they bring more opportunities. This is the nature of this world. So if to begin with, 2 people, Allah will give them 100 opportunities. If you appreciate these 100, it becomes 200, 300. If you don't appreciate these 100, then no more opportunity will come. So people, to begin with, they may have equal opportunities, but you can make it more, or you can just miss them. So we have to be careful and alert not to lose these opportunities. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam also said, Al-fursatu tamurru marra as-sahab, fantahizu furas al-khayr. Opportunities pass like clouds. So take these opportunities into your advantage. Grab these opportunities. Imam Baqir alayhi salam said, Badir bintihaz al-bughya inda imkan al-fursah. Be quick and fast in getting what you want when there is opportunity. Don't waste time. We shouldn't rush, but we shouldn't also delay. You should find the right time. Yeah? If, for example, your train comes at 11 o'clock, you take a train at 10:50, that's not going to where you want to go. But if you also go late, again, there might be no other train. So, you have to not waste and delay and postpone unnecessarily. Especially we have to benefit from our youths. Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam said, Inna al-layla wal-nahar ya'malan fika fa'mal fihima. Day and night are constantly working on you. They are affecting you. Every day you lose something. Every night you lose something. Every day and night your life becomes shorter. Imagine if we have a statue and we are every day taking part of this statue. Your life is like this. Day and night are taking part of it. So you must not be relaxed. What should you do? فَعْمَلْ فِيهِمَا. If they are affecting you, you should also do something to affect them, to take them to your side, to your advantage. وَيَأْخُذَانِ مِنْكَ فَخُذْ مِنْهُمَا. They take from you, you take from them. Benefit from them. Especially when you are young. When you are young, you have lots of opportunities that maybe later you don't have. Unless when you were young, you grabbed them. If you were young, you looked after your health. In future, you can also be healthy. If you were young, you educated yourself, studied well. In future, also you can continue. Yeah, I can learn till I die. But if 20, 30 years I didn't study, then all of a sudden I want to. It's difficult. It's not impossible. It's difficult. If I didn't, choose a good job later, I want to. It's difficult. So you have lots of opportunities when you are young. Grab them. They will, inshallah, remain and create more opportunities. But if you waste them, then in future it's very difficult. Maybe sometimes impossible. One of the things that Islam very much recommends is not to think about bad things. We should not do bad things, but Islam says this is not enough. It's not enough that you don't do bad things. Don't even think about doing bad things. Why? Because thinking by itself is an action. It's the action of the heart. It's the action of the mind. Even if I think about sinning, about harming, about doing zulm, for example, I say in my heart, if I see that person, I'm going to say this to him, or I'm going to ruin him, or I'm going to damage him. Maybe I don't do this, but even thinking in this way is not good. It makes the ugliness of the action less and less, noticeable and understandable. How people end up with doing bad things. First, they think about it. First, they get used to it in their thinking, and then they do it. One day they dare and then do it. So, think in a positive way. Think about good things. And even, sometimes reading bad things. There are people who always, for example, read about bad things that happen in the world. We should know some of these things, but some of these things we don't need to know. Every day, millions of people can have, accidents, or, people are killed or whatever. Is there something that I need to know? For example, there's something about politics, something about ummah, something about humanity that I need to know. Okay, but there are people who just read these things, and there are newspapers in some countries that only publish this bad news. Who killed whom? Who divorced whom? Who did this? This actor did this actress did this. All these negative things. This is not good because it drains your positive energy. So, we should be very careful about our thinking. Then, if God forbids, someone is thinking about committing a sin, about disobeying Allah, then you can imagine what would be the situation. And always remember this beautiful hadith we have here and we have in some other places. It is true that Allah is forgiving. It is true that Allah is merciful. But there are sins that would cause Allah's anger. There are sins that may fix the anger of Allah on you. There is no tawbah for them. Not because your tawbah will not be accepted, because you will not be able to do tawbah. So there is a hadith which says, Allah has hidden His pleasure in some good actions. So you must do every good action. Maybe that is the one that brings Allah's reza and pleasure to you. And Allah has hidden His sakhat, His anger, in some bad actions. Maybe you have done bad things to, your mother, your father, neighbor in the past. Inshallah, Allah will forgive you. But next time might be your last chance. Be careful. Maybe after that, if you do it one more time, your relation with Allah will change. Maybe Allah's anger will be fixed. Don't say, I have done this many times. And, First of all, who knows what has happened to you? But even if it has not happened so far, maybe that's the time that Allah's anger will be fixed. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, Man hamma bisayyatin fala ya'malha. Whoever decides to do a sin, an act of disobedience, should not do it, must not do it. فَإِنَّهُ رُبَمَا عَمِلَ الْعَبْدُ السَّيِّئَةِ. Sometimes it happens that a person does a sin, commits a sin, فَيَرَاهُ الرَّبَّ تَبَارَكَ وَتَعَالَى فَيَقُولُ. then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would see him in that and says, of course Allah always sees us, but he sees and say this. يقول لا وعزتي وجلالي لا أغفر لك بعدها أبدا. By my honor and glory, I am not going to forgive you. Especially zulm, especially doing injustice to people. It's very, very, or underestimating your sins. Say, it's not important. Many people commit sins. I have less sins than other people. These are the signs of lack of respect, lack of shame, if you underestimate. Zulm, again, sign of not having fear from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, لا يتمكن الشيطان بالوسوسة من العبد. Inshallah, we finish in a few minutes. Shaitan is not even able to bring temptations. Because shaitan doesn't have control. The maximum shaitan can do is to bring temptations. Yeah? It's not that Allah has given remote control for us to shaitan. So, switch them on and off and, take them from here. Shaitan doesn't have remote control. Maybe we give him our remote control. That's another issue. But Allah has not given shaitan our remote control. Okay? Shaitan can do waswasa. But even waswasa, hadith says, it's when you are heedless of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you are in the condition of mindfulness and remembrance of Allah, shaitan cannot do even waswasa. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, لا يتمكن الشيطان بالوسوسة من العبد إلا وقد أعرض عن ذكر الله. Shaitan is not possible for him to bring temptations unless the servant of Allah has turned away from Allah, has stopped remembering him. وَاسْتَهَانَ بِأَمْرِهِ, and has underestimated Allah's affair, Allah's command. وَسَكَنَ إِلَى نَهْيِهِ وَنَسْيَ اطِّلَاعَهُ عَلَى سِرِّهِ. He has underestimated prohibition of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Said it's not important. Allah has said this is haram. It's not important. And is not thinking that Allah is aware of his secrets. This is the time that you open the gate for shaitan to come. In another hadith we read, again from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, إِذَا أَتَاكَ الشَّيْطَانُ مُوَسْوِسًا لِيُضِلَّكَ عَنْ سَبِيلِ الْحَقِّ وَيُنْسِيَكَ ذِكْرَ اللَّهِ. If shaitan comes to bring temptation to make you go away from the path of the truth and to forget your Lord, فَاسْتَعِذْ مِنْهُ بِرَبِّكَ. Ask Allah to give you refuge from shaitan. وَرَبِّهِ, because Allah is your Lord and His Lord. Ask your Lord and His Lord to give you refuge. فَإِنَّهُ يُؤَيِّدُ الْحَقَّ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ وَيَنْصُرُ الْمَظْلُومِ. Because if you ask Allah for refuge, Allah will support madloom. You are madloom. Shaitan wants to attack you. Ask Allah for help. Allah is going to help you. Isti'adha is a powerful means. I have said this many times about these spiritual tools. Dua, istighfar, isti'adha, insha'Allah, bi'idhnillah. These are powerful tools. It's not just formality. If you really mean a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Allah helps you. If you mean it, if you are like a person who is in a dark and a thief is attacking and ask for help, if in that condition you ask Allah for help and say, A'udhu billahi minash, He's definitely going to help you. But if it is just, something we repeat and, we don't mean it, of course, then you may not receive any help. Imam says, فَإِنَّهُ يُعَيِّدُ الْحَقَّ عَلَى الْبَاطِلِ وَيَنْصُرُ الْمَظْلُومِ. Allah helps, or this action of isti'adha helps haqq over falsehood, and helps also mazloom. بقوله عز وجل إنه ليس له سلطان على الذين آمنوا وعلى ربهم يتوكلون. Shaitan has no authority, no sovereignty, no control over the people who have faith and trust the Lord. Then there are a few hadiths here about dhikr that I think our time is over. I end with the last hadith, that not last hadith in the book, last hadith for us. This is a beautiful hadith that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam said, we should remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all the time. But remembrance of Allah all the time is not just to say Subhanallah, walhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar. Although this is very important, but it's not just saying this. Remember Allah in every moment with respect to His commands and prohibitions. ليس سبحان الله والحمد لله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر فقط ولكن إذا ورد عليك شيء أمر الله عز وجل. When Allah has commanded you to do something, do it. This is zikr. وإذا ورد عليك شيء نهى الله عز وجل عنه تركه. Allah said, don't do this. Don't do it. This is zikr. So be mindful of Allah and do what He said to do. And refrain from what He said to refrain. This is zikrullah ala kulli hal. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to be always mindful of Him, to always give our hearts and attention to Him. May Allah make our time of being sleeping or awake both at His service. And may inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to understand Him day by day better and love Him day by day inshallah more. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I also say Khuda Hafiz to all the people who are with us online. Fi aman. Do you have any questions? Yes. Assalamu alaikum.